There once was a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. He also had many servants. He was, in fact, the richest person in that entire area. Job's sons would take turns preparing feasts in their homes, and they would also invite their 3 sisters to celebrate with them. When these celebrations ended, sometimes after several days, Job would purify his children. He would get up early in the morning and offer a burnt offering for each of them. For Job said to himself,
"Perhaps my children have sinned and have cursed God in their hearts."
This was Job's regular practice. One day, the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser Satan came with them. The Lord asked the accuser,
"Where have you come from?"
And the accuser answered the Lord. I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. Then the Lord asked the accuser,
"Have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil."
The accuser replied to the Lord, "Yes, but Job has good reason to fear God. You have always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is, but reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you and your face." So the Lord said to the accuser,
"All right, you may test him. Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically."
So Satan left the Lord's presence. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting at the oldest brother's house, a messenger arrived at Job's home with this news. "Your oxen were plowing with the donkeys feeding beside them when some marauders raided us. They stole all animals and killed all the farm hands. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news. "The fire of God has fallen from heaven and burned up your sheep and all the shepherds. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, a third messenger arrived with this news. 3 bands of raiders have stolen your camels and killed your servants. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news. "Your sons and daughters are feasting in their oldest brother's home. Suddenly a powerful wind swept in from the wilderness and hit the house on all sides. The house collapsed, and all your children are dead. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Then he shaved his head and fell to the ground to worship. He said,
"I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I have, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord."
One day, the members of the heavenly court came again to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser, Satan, came with them. The Lord asked the accuser,
"Where have you come from?"
And the accuser answered the Lord, "I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on." Then the Lord asked the accuser,
"Have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity.
The accuser replied to the Lord. Scant for scant, a man will give up everything he has to save his life, but reach out and take away his health, and he will surely curse you and your face. So the Lord said to the accuser,
All right, you do with him as you please, but spare his life.
So Satan left the Lord's presence, and he struck Job with terrible boils from head to foot. Job escaped his skin with a piece of broken pottery as he sat among the ashes. In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God.
Faith, true faith, can move mountains. But what can life be like for someone who believes but doesn't have true faith? I'm the fourth of 5 children, so I never believed growing up there was plenty of sibling rivalry at my expense. However, it was my father who made me my childhood a nightmare. One day when I was about 5 years old, I cut my wrist while playing outside. I tried to bandage it, but the bandage kept coming off. When my dad came home from work that evening, he made me lay on the table and proceeded to sew me up. No, it wasn't any painkiller. As bad as that seems, there were far more worse kinds of abuse handed out. Once while my older brother and I were outside just doing kid stuff, I was hit by something very painful in my arm. As I looked to see what had caused it, I was struck again in the leg and soon realized my dad was shooting my brother and I with a BB gun. We tried to hide, but I soon realized only running to the house would save me. So I sprinted to the house while being hit several more times. My dad was pretty messed up. One day he grabbed me and stapled my finger, and when I cried, he called me weak and stapled a couple more fingers. At about 6 or 7 years old, my dad started using drugs. And living with someone who was high or drunk and abusive isn't fun. My dad would get high with one of his brothers and then force my older brother and I to box. We didn't have boxing gloves. We were fortunate enough to be able to wrap shop rags around their knuckles. And my brother is 2.5 years older than I really didn't stand a chance. We weren't allowed to talk at the dinner table. If we did, my dad would usually hit us with the handle of a knife. Once when I saw him getting ready to hit me because I was talking with my younger brother, I decided I didn't want to get hit. So I ran around the other side of the table. My dad just simply threw the knife into my arm and then told me to sit down, shut up, and finish my food. I could go on and on about his abuse. Suffice to say, by the time I was 13, I slept with a loaded gun beside my bed because my dad was just plain crazy. Life sucks. In 7th grade, junior high back in those days, my father would let us play football. Who knows why? We just couldn't. However, I couldn't participate in wrestling. Unfortunately, growing up in Becker, football was, and still is, king. Everyone back then played football. Everyone, except me. I went off to wrestling that year along with about a dozen other 7th grade boys. Unfortunately, wrestling wasn't popular. In fact, the other kids said, if you wrestle, you must be gay, since you like rolling around with other boys. Pressure to fit in was too great. None of the other boys went on again in 8th grade. So, as an 8th grader, I was the only wrestler that year, and I was called Bang, Gay Boy. Even the nerds and geeks made fun of me. Life sucks. I just want to let you know, though, I never gave in to peer pressure, and I continued to wrestle. And I was glad I did. Just a quick little note in there for anybody that's thinking about stopping something because of peer pressure. Don't give in. I became the first Becker wrestler to win an all-conference. First Becker wrestler to win 2 and then 3 all-conferences. And the first Becker wrestler to go to state. if not for a couple of injuries, may have been the first Becker wrestler to win a state championship. Don't give in to peer pressure. It's just a little caveat there. After high school, I went to the Marines, and I got married at age 19 to a girl I dated in high school. I was way too young, and my marriage turned into hell. So we started to divorce, only to find out she was pregnant. We tried to work it out, and my son was born. And then 2.5 years later, another son was born. But kids don't fix a bad marriage. In 1998, I told my then wife to leave, but I couldn't leave her alone and just leave myself because she was abusive to my boys. So I had to stick with my boys, and a custody battle ensued. Life sucks. I wanted to go to college when I got out of the Marines, but since my wife at the time refused to work, I needed to work full-time rather than use the GI Bill to go to college. I started a career in the home building business, which I enjoyed and was good at. I continued in the building business after my divorce and soon became a foreman for a large company. And living started to get better. The better life didn't last for long. One day, while I was sitting in a large iron beam, there was an accident. And my right leg was crushed, leaving me with permanent nerve damage and severe pain. Life sucks. After the injury, I decided to get my contractor's license so I could be a guy on top of the ladder, so I could work at my pace and make enough money so I could care for my 2 boys. I even started college. Then I started dating the most wonderful woman in the world. When I lost my spot there. When I thought I was not good enough for her, Sherry saw through my sawdust, and we were married July 11, 2003. Life seemed great, and money wasn't an issue. My current wife and I wanted to have children together, but I had previously had an operation to prevent having any more kids. So we decided to have an operation to reverse that so we could try for kids of our own. In the summer of 2005, we bought land and started building our dream home. I'm gonna pause here. On September 8th, 2005, while building a house for a longtime friend, my life would be forever changed. A 30-foot floor truss slipped off the wall and landed directly on my head. I was dazed but standing. My face and head hurt badly. I could see blood pouring onto the ground. When I looked up at one of my helpers, I asked, "Where am I bleeding?" His eyes were as big and white as saucers, and he said, "Everywhere." The left side of my forehead and face was lacerated in multiple places. I sat down for a couple of minutes while my helper started putting tools away. I got up and helped him so I could drive to the clinic to get stitched up. I was just down the road from here at Peterson's Tree Farm, so Becker was the clinic that was closest by. As I drove toward the doctor, I called Sherry and told her what had happened and asked if she could pick me up because I felt like passing out. I walked into Becker Clinic and asked if there was a doctor available. I must look pretty bad because all the receptionists went in every direction. One got me a wheelchair and the rest went to find a doctor. I was stitched and glued back together and was told that I would need plastic surgery to look halfway normal. I never did have plastic surgery. I took a few days off work, but went back to finish building not only my house, but my friends as well. It didn't take long for me to realize things weren't quite right. One day, I dropped a carton with only 2 eggs in it. And on another day, I couldn't even lift the cooking pot from a cupboard right here up onto the stove. And I had to scream for Sherry to come and help me. I scheduled a doctor's appointment and then was scheduled for an MRI. Immediately after the MRI, the doctor said that a vertebrae in my neck had been broken and I would need immediate surgery. He told me not to go back to work because the smallest hit to the head would sever my spinal cord, leaving me a quadriplegic. Life sucks. The surgery turned out great. Immediately I could lift my arms again. but my hand and back never stopped hurting. Pain wasn't all I was left with. I became angry with everything. I began to yell at Sherry and the kids over everything. I perceived things wrong that weren't really wrong. I even told my son to get out of the house and go live with his mom. Sherry started to distance herself from me, and we were close to divorce. Life sucks. One day, Sherry came home from a conference and said, "I know what's wrong with you. You have a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. I scheduled a neuropsych eval, and sure enough, I had a TBI. Life sucks. My pain issues were so bad, I knew I'd never be able again. So we decided I should finish last year my teaching degree. I went back to college, but with the TBI, I failed a history exam for the first time ever. I couldn't believe it. Since I was going to be a history teacher, I know all about history and always have. An A- was the lowest grade I ever got, but now I failed the test. Life sucks. I struggled through school with help from Sherry, graduated, and became a teacher at Final Lakes Juvenile Detention Center. However, pain and memory problems continued. I love my job, but on September 21st, 2011, I was rear-ended at a stoplight, shattering a vertebra in my back, and my diaphragm was damaged, causing my right lung not to inflate fully. At night, I started to twitch and strike out violently. I was diagnosed with myoclonus, which is similar to Tourette's. Life sucks. Finances had really gone downhill since 2005. Once, I could spend $5,000 at the drop of a dime. Now we couldn't meet our bills. I was lucky though. I had taken out a long-term disability insurance when I was teaching. But the policy isn't that great on a teacher's starting wages, because I had only been teaching a couple years. And as a builder, I had built my house a little too extravagantly. And when I got hurt, a lot of the projects I couldn't finish. And I had to hire someone to do those, causing the loan to grow a lot larger than I wanted to. And it also left a lot of stuff undone. We couldn't even sell our house for what we owed once the market went down. Life sucks. I've tried so many pain control methods that don't help or rarely help in the past years. I have fought with depression badly. I once was able to do physical labor from sun up to sundown in long summer days. Now I set an alarm for about an hour if I'm doing anything resembling work. Snowy, who was born after my accident, has never been able to see me at my best, and has gotten used to Dad going to bed at 5, 6, or 7 in the evening because I have a headache. It's extremely depressing being in pain, and the TBI made it worse. I'm a different person. I hate foods I used to love. I love foods I used to hate. My personality is different, so much so that I said many times, Mark Lumley died September 8th, 2005, but Robert Lumley was born. Robert, the pet name that Sherry started calling me after the TBI. It's hard to be in another person's body. What I mean by that is I can remember what I once was, what I used to be like. But now I'm someone else. People that knew me prior to my accident, family, friends, others, have a certain expectation of me. I think we're all like that. We expect people we know to behave in a certain way, and if they don't, they must be strange in some way. For years, I tried being Mark Lumley, when in fact, I am Robert Lumley. This leads to a lot of depression. As you can see, I look pretty healthy, and most people would assume I'm just a normal, healthy man. Some might even go so far as to say I lift weights and things like that. But I fall down sometimes, because of my injuries. I tossed things across the room accidentally because of my nerve condition. Watching somebody drop a bowl of rice and then happen to pick it up is pretty funny, unless it happens to you on multiple occasions. I even had a guy get on me for parking in a handicapped parking spot. And yes, I have a permit. He took a look at me and said, "You're probably healthier than I am." Little did he know. Reflecting on that, I was pretty depressed. So many times I asked God, why didn't he kill me? I can't even drive a car with a coat on because it causes a headache, as does driving itself. I had been on antidepressants as well as many other medications for years. I would cuss God for letting this happen. I would cuss God for not killing me. And ask for death so many times, close to die. I didn't want to do it myself, not that I'm afraid, but because of my kids. I couldn't leave them without a dad. How could they live with their dad doing that? Sometimes, though, pressure is the boss. 2 years ago, having some really bad days, plus other stressors, I went into my bedroom, loaded up my 12-gauge, put it to my head. This was it. I was sick of pain, couldn't handle it. I was sick of being denied Social Security. I was sick of sleeping all day. I was sick of not having money. I was sick of everything going wrong. Life sucks. I'd always gone to church growing up. My parents made sure to went to Sunday school. As I became a teen, we would have Bible studies at home. I guess you could say I was a believer. But that isn't enough. You have to be a believer and have faith. And I asked God for help with so many things, so often, without assigned answers. Somehow, though, I think God always had a purpose for me and didn't want me to die. He could have let that happen many times. At 6, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks with pneumonia. I was struck by lightning at 16, and again at 20. At 21, combat in the Middle East. We know that everything happened. One day I kicked an unexploded cluster bomb, and it didn't go off. Damn. Shortly thereafter, it did. At 22, I was shot in the head during a training accident. At 25, someone threw a 2x6 stud out of a second-floor window right under my head. It was just an accident. At 29, remember that steel beam that hit my leg? Well, it was falling towards my weak man. And I rushed in and pushed him out of the way. It could have been a lot worse. At 35, a floor truss to the head. It took 2 of us to lift and carry that thing. It was that heavy. And I was instantly an inch shorter. That's how much force it hit me with. But I'm not dead. Then at 43, there I was with a loaded 12-gauge to my head. But thankfully, my daughter's face came into my head, and I put the gun away. But why am I here? I was still depressed. In fact, I cussed God even more. A year and a half ago, I had to fix a spot in the fence where the sheep had been forcing their way out. I was mad, since things were never going right. Especially with the sheep. There wasn't enough grass, not enough money for hay, not enough buyers to sell the sheep to. The fence was always being knocked down and so on. So on this day, as I go out to fix the fence, I asked God to give me a sign that things would be okay. As I dig a hole with the post in, I hear a ting. So I dig around the thing, thinking I hit a rock. Now, where I'm digging used to be a wooded lowland area that I cleared for my sheep. As I dig, I find a horseshoe. My place had never been a farm, so where did the horseshoe come from? For a while, I thought God put it there, but things weren't fine. In fact, they seemed to get worse, especially finances. By last winter, I stopped going to church again and was cussing God. Life sucks. One day, I wanted to know how Joel handled the faith he was given and still be a happy believer. Because I lost my wealth. I lost my health. My kids, yes, they are alive. But Sherry and I wanted more than just one. But due to medical reasons, since Snowy was born, we can't have any more. So to me, that was kind of like taking my kids away. So one day I opened the Bible up to Job and learned the story is a little more involved than what we typically hear told in church. Fact is, Job was pissed off. And God pissed off and questioned God, why? This is where my life again took a turn, only this time for the better. God said to Job, who are you to ask me why? Where were you when I created the world? What do you know of my plan? Pretty profound things. I started reading more from the Bible and a book about what does communion really mean. It was in that book that it hit me. It's a two-way street with God. God will give you the world if only we follow. Not just believe, but follow. It's the faith. I always believed, but it was the following, the faith in God that I lacked. Right there, I put my faith in God and knew that things would be okay. Didn't God give me a sign already? The horseshoe, which symbolizes good luck. I found that out in what's basically an old dried up swamp. From that day forward, when taking communion, I don't just take the bread, body of Christ, and wine, blood of Christ. I now reaffirm an oath to God that I will have faith in Him, and I will do my best to live my life as He wishes me to live. For the past year, I have not taken antidepressants. That is by my choice. My doctors don't really agree with that. But I have faith. And I have so much less stress. I worry some, but probably less than average, because I know now that through faith in God, everything will be okay. I decided this past fall that I would share my faith story. And at that time, I still had to go to court for Social Security disability. In July, my long-term disability insurance company sent me to one of their choice of doctors, the impartial one, one of those crooked doctors, so the insurance company could deny my claim. In November, I received a letter from the insurance company, which, of course, they would cancel. I asked them to wait since I was going to court in December on the 5th for my Social Security disability hearing, but they canceled me anyway. 2 years ago, I would have cussed God out because I really needed the money. Now we would have to take the money that I had set aside from the sale of my Bobcat to pay bills. We were going to use the money to go to Germany to visit our daughter Sarah and the exchange student we had last year, Rhea. I trusted God rather than get mad, but I was still worried about Social Security disability. They had 90 days to make a decision, which would have been around March 5th. On Sunday, February 15th, at the end of service, I told Pastor Mike I would share my faith story. I knew even if Social Security denied me, I'd share. On Friday, February 21st, I got a packet from Social Security with the findings in court. I was nervous, but trusting in God, I opened the packet to see the words, findings fully favorable. After 3.5 years of trying, and 9.5 years since the floor trusted ahead, I'm finally getting Social Security disability. It's not the money I made when I was in my 30s, but it's security, knowing that I will not have to wonder or worry about what we will have rather than this month or the next. During communion class with my daughter Snowy, Pastor Mike was talking about the plagues God brought down on Egypt after Moses asked for the Hebrews to be set free. Pastor Mike posed a good question. How long between the plagues and how long overall were the plagues? 1 month. 1 year, 10 years? We don't know. But one thing I know, and so did Moses, that faith in God will be rewarded. Don't give up just because it doesn't happen overnight or even in a year. It's been nearly 2 years since I found the sign of the horseshoe, letting me know everything will be all right. I just have to show God a sign that I have faith. I just believe. Life is great. Thank you.